blogs. It feels like they're dying a slow death. She answers every DM she gets. Mind blowing. Oh my gosh, this has been just a game changer for me. Getting hit by this Google update, we have found that even Google and SEO is rented space. We have the people that have $1,000,000 websites. Hi, friends. I'm Becca Robbins. I am the founder of Influencing the Magic, formerly known as Awesome Retreat. And I am super excited to be bringing you a podcast to help you learn and grow your business as a content creator in the travel, theme park, or hyper local space. All right, so to kick things off, I wanted to say I had the most amazing time at our last event. At that time, it was still called Awesome Retreat. It was the final Awesome Retreat before our rebrand into Influencing the Magic. I am just so full of ideas and like action steps to take for my own business. I This is why I put on these conferences, is because I gain so much knowledge from them. All right, so today I wanted to tell you the top 5 things I learned at the final Awesome Retreat. And there was an overarching theme for this retreat. It wasn't intentional, but it came into play in every single session that we heard. And that overarching theme was community and personal connections. And so we're going to talk about that in every single thing I learned, probably. I don't think there's a single one that doesn't mention it. So let's jump right in. Okay, the first thing I learned was that the community and the connections are key. We are in a rapidly changing space with AI, Google Gate, and so much more going on, and also like quick form content, and people want answers like that. It almost feels like the content creation world, other than on social media, is crumbling. Blogs, it feels like they're dying a slow death, but that's not necessarily the case. We can still continue to thrive if we can build a community and get those connections and give that personal feel to our content as we share it with others. And that was a really big focus on by our first speaker, the amazing Amira Martin. She is the host of the Plan Disney podcast, as well as she has several websites and online outlets that she has worked for. But she talked about communal magic and how our community, which we are a part of, can thrive and grow regardless of the follower count. And I loved that. It was great. One thing that she talked about that really stood out to me is making a personal connection. And one way with that she talked about is she answers every DM she gets, right? That can be really hard depending on what your outlet is. But if you can do that, especially the ones from unique followers, maybe not for brands or like the follow for follow or the creepy guys saying that you're beautiful and they want to ask you out. You don't have to necessarily respond to those, but one-on-one. Another thing she talked about is maybe just once in a while doing a check-in on someone you noticed always likes but never comments. Maybe they're not brave enough to go into a comment section. They've had something happen in the past where that backfired or created World War III on social media. So they don't necessarily want to comment, or they're too shy to comment, or they don't think they have anything to add. But reach out to them, say, hey, I've noticed you liking my content. I really appreciate you being part of my community. Do you have any questions that you need answered or stuff like that? So making that personal connection is key to growing that community. Another thing that we learned about a lot is personalization and personality are key. So personalization, from everything from your newsletters to how you talk with people to even the articles and content that you create. And Leslie Peterson spoke for email, but she also has just this mind-blowing, oh my gosh, this has been just a game changer for me in everything I do, is how she creates these personas. And it's, we talk a lot about, you've heard of probably avatars. Personas are different than avatars, because avatars were like you had to name them and you kind of just said this is what they want or need. But this one is personas, and someone can fit into more than one persona, and you have different personas that you may be catering to. Sometimes that's different personas based on where you're at. and sometimes it's different personas that are all in the same place. So, for example, on my personal social media, the only thing I post about are theme parks there. I don't post about anything else because those are the people that started following me when I was specifically only theme parks, mostly Disney. That's where they followed me from. That's what they want to see. In my stories, I might share other stuff, but as far as feed posts, it's all theme parks for the most part. Once in a while, I'll put something else. However, on my website, while I do have theme parks and Disney, I also have West Coast content that does really well. I have family travel, I have hiking, I have all these different things that perform well on my website that play to different people that have different interests. And creating this persona list helps me decide what to post, what to update, and it also helps me know what should I be sending out in my emails so that I put something that will interest every single person at least every few weeks. So it's a amazing thing. You can go to lesliepeterson.com. She has a free worksheet about lead magnets that kind of leans into this persona thing, and it's a game changer, 100%. Okay, tied into that, the next thing I learned is email is so important, but doing it right is key. And that leans into this persona thing. You know, email is something we've known is important for a while. Why? Because you own your email list, right? So as far as social media, you can lose that account overnight, which I have had happen in a account I had with some other people. Overnight, we lost that account because the bots decided anything with the word Disney or Disneyland in it was not okay, took them down. And we weren't big enough on that specific platform to try and get it back. It wasn't worth it to us. It did turn out to be a bot mistake, we found out later, but it was just like, yeah, we just set it up when the name became available again and did something else. So we we lost that. And you can also lose Facebook pages, or your reach can be cut. Um, YouTube channels can be taken down, though I do feel like YouTube is safer than the other social media networks. And, you know, you can be shadow banned on places. And then we used to rely very heavily on SEO. And after this last year with Googlegate and everyone, especially in the travel realm, um, getting hit by this Google update, we have found that even Google and SEO is rented space. What is not rented space is your email list. You get to control what's in there. You control how often you send it. You control like what you're sharing in it, right? And like who you're sending it to on your list. And so doing it right, using the personas and creating lead magnets and putting things in there that will interest your people is super important. I'm also doing Leslie's email boot camp. It is part of her insider group, which is a paid membership. And I'm doing it live, which I think is the most beneficial. But if you can't do it live, if you join her insider group at the monthly rate, you can go, you can do it. And then I suggest you continue with that, but if not, you can cancel once you're done. But she has several courses on there that are amazing, like her content update system course, which I did back before it was part of the Insider. I paid to do just that course. So definitely, definitely, definitely check it out. And the value you get from her Insider group, we do have a Facebook group. I don't feel like that's the value. The value is her live trainings and things that she does with us each month. So definitely check that out. All right, this wasn't something that was spoken on, but it was something that I really noticed. And that is something I've noticed for a few years, but it really stood out this year. Is that if this is your business, you will take the time and energy to invest in education, networking, and growth. And time is an investment, right? So for a lot of people, it's hard. They're like, why are you guys going down to Anaheim and your main thing you're doing is a conference? You're not spending your time in the parks. We used to include a park day. We haven't the last few years because of reservation systems and ever changing rules at different theme parks. But the reason is because it's a place we all like, people are willing to add a few days if they want to go, or like a lot of us went to the Sweethearts night after the day of the conference. But it's a place where we'll all come together and find something we can cover, even if it's just the hotel that we're staying at, we can do coverage of that. But we're investing our time and we're taking the time to learn and grow. And you can really tell when creators aren't willing to make that investment and they're like, no, I'm just going to do what I'm doing, or they're in it for the popularity and the clout and they just want their name to be known. And there's a big difference, and you'll start to realize who those people are that have the like mindedness that you have of, this is my business, I'm going to make a living out of this, and I'm going to invest and learn and grow. And it was really great. We had people that were just realizing like how they could make money in other ways and things they wanted to change. And then we have the people that have $1 million websites. It was a great mix, and there was someone that everyone could learn from. And the final thing that I learned from this is just personal connection is so important. Whether it's networking, which next week we have an episode coming up with Jessica, who did a session about networking. She called it the Clueless Guide to Networking, and it was all based on Clueless stuff, and it was so fun. But and she even dressed like she looked like she came out of the movie Clueless. It was so cute. But we have this episode coming where Jessica's talking about that, and a lot of that is about the personal connection. Personal connections are important, whether it's meeting with like-minded people, whether it is enjoying like a drink with someone, a coffee or whatever that you can talk business over. Even if it's just reaching out to someone to say, hey, I love your stuff, that personal connection that will grow is so important. And it's something I've tried to have in my business for quite a while. When I work with a brand, I might reach out to them 3 months later and just be like, hey, I was just checking in, wanted to know if, you have something that's you might want me to mention in an article that's important. And I'm not asking for money at that time. And I just say, hey, I'm updating, or I might say, I'm updating this article. Anything I should add? So it's a great way to help your business grow, because here's what happens. When you connect with people, they are willing to refer you to people. And that is such a big part. Networking is still key. um, Connections are the most important thing that you can have in your business. And that doesn't mean having connections to the top person at Disney Parks and Resorts. You don't have to be best friends with Josh tomorrow. I'm sure it would help, but most of us, that's not an option. But what is an option is making connections with a hotel manager, or making connections with a cast member at Disneyland that does a certain role. Obviously they can't speak for the brand or the company, but they can kind of clue you in onto some things that are going on. Um, these connections are what are really going to give you the opportunities to excel in your business. And if you learn to make those connections and to nurture them, and that includes your email list, if you're that's why there's something called a nurture series, because you're nurturing that relationship that you're building. So that is probably the most important thing that you can take from this, is that connections, personalization, that is what is important right now and forever in life and in business. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. I am so excited to be able to bring you these educational podcasts that you can listen to. We'll have lots of guests on, because I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything, but because of networking and my personal goals and trying to grow, I've gotten to know some amazing people that have amazing insight to share. We will see you next week. Keep influencing the magic.